Arturia have just released V Collection 8, and in this video I'm going to be giving you an overview of what's inside. Hi folks, I'm Mike, and I hope you're well. Arturia have just released their V Collection version 8, and I've been lucky enough to get my hands on it for a few days before release. And spoiler alert, it's massive, it's beautiful, and it sounds awesome. Now I'm going to be delving into what's new in version 8, but first of all, let's get an overview of this huge collection. V Collection 8 includes 28 software keyboards in total. Now there's no doubt that many of them are based on classic synthesizers such as the Dupe 8, Prophet 5, Mini Moog and DX7 to name but a few. And we also have beautiful vintage keys such as the Stage 73V, the Whirly V2 and the B3 V2 and the wonderfully quirky Meltron V. And we're not just limited to electronic keys, we also get Piano V, and whilst this is one software instrument, it actually includes 12 pianos with a nice variation of grands and uprights. On top of all this, we get the new version 5 of Analog Lab. Analog Lab in itself is a massive product with easily accessible light versions of all of the keyboards in the V Collection, plus some presets from Arturia's own Pigment software synth. So now that we've established that V Collection 8 is massive in width, how about depth? By way of example, what we're looking at here is probably one of the more simple instruments, the Stage 73, updated to version 2 with this collection. And I'm sure you'll agree that despite its simple appearance, it has a really great sound. Let's have a quick listen. And as you can see here, some very simple controls, a bass boost and a volume here. And we can also flick this switch here to get a slightly different version where we have a tone control and a volume. But it's when we go to the suitcase version where we get even more variation. I'll click on that now. This opens up the suitcase version, which has this built-in vibrato, which some of these instruments originally had. So I'll switch that on. I'll turn the intensity up a little bit so we can hear it quite clearly. And we can also adjust the treble and the bass separately now. Let's have a quick listen. Okay, so still very simple controls, but if we open up the Advanced tab, we have a lot of different features now available to us. Of course, we have the velocity curve, which you can see here. I think every keyboard instrument should have one of those, but it's over on this right-hand side where we have the very cool stuff. First of all, we can go through some different models. We have the main model selected at the moment. I'm just going to play this again and go through a few of the different models so you can hear the difference. So there's some massive changes in character there. Now we can do the really cool stuff. You could do this stuff in real life, but it wasn't very easy. You'd probably have to get your screwdriver out and fiddle for hours on end to do what we can do in just a few seconds here, because we can play around with the mechanics inside. I'm just going to play around with one of these at the moment, the pickup distance here. Let's have a listen and you can hear what an enormous difference it makes to the sound. Love that really gritty sound. Okay, so there's lots to look at there, lots to play with. Now the other thing that we can do is add some effects. I'll go to the effects section here. We've got 4 slots for guitar type pedals, and typically we might put something like a phaser on this. I'll do that now. Let's have a listen. In fact, I might go for a chorus. Oh yeah, I love that. I don't need to change anything there. Now the other thing, of course, you would do is plug it into an amplifier, and we've got a couple to choose from here. I'll just switch them on. We've got the twin amp here and also a rotary style speaker as well. I'm going to go for the twin amp. I'm just going to leave it at its default setting and see what difference it's made to the sound. Yeah, absolutely loving that. Now, what I'm going to do is just turn down the reverb on this. This amplifier had a built-in reverb. I'm just going to get rid of that so we can have a quick listen to the reverbs which you get with this plugin. I'll switch them on. You get all kinds of different ones. A plate one is selected here. There's a spring reverb there. We've got an acoustic concert hall there, a home studio. Lots to choose from there. I'm going to go for the plate reverb. Let's have a listen to this. So this is but one simple example of the depth to which Arturia go with these instruments. They also add details which reveal functions not present in the original instruments. So let's take a look at an example of that next. So one of the many classic synths included is the Dupe 8V, and this has also been updated in V Collection 8. And like all of the instruments in this collection, Arturia capture the original styling of the instrument, but don't make an exact copy of the layout of controls. They do, however, give you most, if not all, of the functionality of the original. Let's have a listen to a pad, and I'll make a few adjustments to shape it a little. Okay, so what I love about Arturia's approach is that whilst they give you the original functionality, they also give you some extras which were not there in the original. And for those, on this instrument, we're going to have to open up the Advanced tab. Now, there's actually a few extras on this instrument, but I just want to show you the note sequencer which I have open here. I'll just switch it on, and as I say, this was not in the original instrument. We'll cut it down to 8 steps here. I'm just going to set up a couple of steps here. We're just going to change the pitch a little in a couple of places just for fun. We'll just set it up like that. Let's have a listen and see what we've got so far. Let's do some accents. We'll add a glide in. So as well as giving you some extras over the original instrument, V Collection 8 makes some things which were a pain much more of a pleasure. And for that, we're going to take a look at the DX7V. When I was at high school, the synth that defined the era was the Yamaha DX7, and when I worked at my local music store, I sometimes got to play with one. Playing them was fun, but programming them was certainly not fun, largely due to the tiny green LCD screen they had and the many menus you had to work through to make changes. So thankfully, Arturia did not do a faithful reproduction of that monstrosity. Indeed, they've been rather generous with what we see here with some of the basic controls. Let's just have a quick listen, and then I'll play around with some of those basic controls to see what effect they have. Okay, that's all very well. But of course, when we go to programming it, this is where we get the advantage over the original. I'm going to click on the Advanced button here, and that reveals this absolutely beautiful interface. We can easily see, for example, our operators here. We can click on any of them and make changes to the envelope easily by dragging the nodes around like so. And if we listen to the sound, absolutely wonderful. And if you just want to work with the envelopes by themselves, you can go here again, this wonderful interface, make your changes, drag things around as you wish when you want to make those changes, like so. and you go onto screens like at the end here where you've got the effects section where you can add in some effects. When you look at this interface and think about the old tiny green screen, you can see that this one is going to be much more of a pleasure to program than the original DX7. So we really find that in the V Collection that not only do we have a wide array of instruments, but they're often expanded beyond their original capabilities with heaps of depth and detail. Now, before I move on to showing you what's new, I just have to show you an old favourite of mine from the previous version. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Meltron V, perfect in perfection. So the Meltron, developed in 1963, represents one of the first times a keyboard player could play back real sounds, samples if you will, but on tape loops rather than in computer memory. You could even blend various sounds together using the knob on the left-hand side here. Let's have a listen. That so-called cello sound at the end there sounds a bit odd. Did you know when they originally recorded the cello for the original Meltron tapes, the cellist refused to tune his instrument down so that they could make the notes for the lower part of the keyboard? So they ended up using an acoustic bass instead. There's 30 seconds of your life you'll never get back thanks to Creative Source. Now, of course, Arturia take it a step further with the advanced panel. Let's open up the advanced panel here to take a look and see what's inside. Well, the first thing we have is some ADSR controls here. I don't think they had those on the original as far as I know, but what I really like is the tape controls you have up here. You can add some saturation, some flutter, make the mechanic noises, the mechanics sound a little bit louder. Let's just have a little play around with that. Now, with the original Meltron, you could change sounds by swapping out tapes. And of course, you can do it in a much more convenient way here by selecting different sounds for voices down at the bottom here. Now, we can do this just by clicking on them, and we've got a range of voices that we can choose from here, which come along with the instrument. And those reflect the kind of choices you had on some of the original Meltrons. Now, the other thing that you can do is actually load up your own samples as well, making a completely original sounding old sound. Now that's what I love about the Meltron. It's the imperfections which make it so wonderful. So before we go ahead and take a look at what's new, I'd like to ask you a question. Are you finding this video useful so far? If you are, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button for me. Do it right away so that you don't forget. And of course, if you do like this kind of content, subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube so that you're notified about my other videos. Now, back to this video. So what new instruments are in version 8? Well, for starters, we have some more classic synth sounds with the June 6 V. Let's just have a quick listen to one of the pads on this synth. Now, by the way, once in a while, Arturia add a completely unnecessary detail. Check this out. When you click on the little flap which covers these buttons here, we get a nice animated open and close sequence. I know it's completely unnecessary, but it keeps people like me happy. Thank you, Arturia. I like that. So moving on, the next thing I want to show you is the Emulator 2 V. Old school sampling here. It's got some really nice samples included. We'll check out this pipe organ. Very sort of retro sounding. And when you want to go in, apart from using these controls here, and you really want to change the sound of some of these samples, you can go in here, click on this old CRT type screen, and you can manipulate these sounds to your heart's content. Really nice little old school sampler there. Now, something that I think many of you will have been waiting for is this one, the Vocoder V. Now, I've got the advanced panel already open here so that you can kind of see what's going on. Let's have a little play with it.
Generator, oscillator, synchronize.
Just, I mean, it's a vocoder. What can I say? It's just lovely. You can also have some fun down here with your patch cables by sending different frequencies over to other frequencies. Like this. Okay, now the other thing that you can actually do is use voice input. So you can use your microphone input from your audio interface and you can vocode things, is that a term, in real time. So really, really nice addition there. And as I say, I think a few people may have been waiting for that. Now, finally, we have the OBXA. I think it's how you say it, OBXA, OBXA, OBSA. I don't know. Let me know in the comments exactly how you pronounce this. I'm not quite sure. Now, no prizes for guessing what song I'm not playing here. Let's have a listen. So another thing that they've improved for this collection is Analog Lab. It's up to version 5 now. Now, in case you don't know, Analog Lab is a piece of software where all of the instruments in the collection that we've seen so far exist, but in a kind of a simplified format, mostly as presets, and then you can go in and make some just minor changes to those presets, not to the same extent that you can to the fully blown instruments, but they do sound great. You also get another instrument which is called Pigments. That's Arturia's own soft synth, and it's a really nice sounding soft synth. You get some presets from that here as well. Now, at the time of making this video, they didn't actually have the new version of Analog Lab available for me to try out. So we're just looking at a screenshot here, and they say that they've made some drastic changes to the whole workflow of the software, and I can see that right away with this screenshot. So as soon as I get hold of a copy and I've been able to try it out for a while, I'll go ahead and make a video for you guys to watch. So which of the 28 products in V Collection 8 excites you the most? Which will you be using in your music? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, I'll be searching for the best deals on V Collection 8 and updating my links down in the description. While you're there, check out my link for patreon.com, where for as little as $1 per month, you can help me help you by making more videos like this. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.